everyone. I hope that you're doing well. And if you're not doing well, that's okay too. Just know that it's temporary. I'm with the wonderful psychic medium, Jay Lane. So, hi, Jay.
Hello, how are you, Tristan?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. I want to thank you so much for having me today here.
Very, I'm excited that you're here with me. I feel like it's an honor. Like, for those of you who don't know, Jay was like one of the first psychic mediums that I've ever seen. And I feel like you really like awakened my mind, awakened my senses. And I was like, oh my God, like you changed my life. Not to sound
Oh,
dramatic, but kinda.
oh, you're so sweet. But yeah, I've known you since how old? Oh my God, been a number of years.
Yeah, since I was a little
Yeah.
baby. I feel like you were always around. So I feel like I always got that psychic senses around me just from you being around my life. So I was really thankful.
No, you know what? It was great. I always loved being around you too, though, because I always thought you were special, but I've always told you that.
You did, and it stuck. It stuck when things go wrong. I'm like, you know what? Jane Lane knows I'm special. So kind of, your words did do a lot for me. So thank you. Okay, so I'm really excited for you to be here because I wanted to talk about mediumship, the afterlife, the before life, this life, anything from energy, intentions, love, and light. And I feel like you have taught me so much in my life, and I feel like you have a big reservoir of knowledge. So I'm super excited to pick your brain. So you up for that?
Oh, I am up for that. I'm excited.
Okay, cool. Me too. Okay, so I have a couple questions in mind. Like what is the work you do right now as a psychic medium? What does that entail?
Well, I do a lot of things actually, Tristan. So I
Mhm.
started off as a psychic medium, actually as a medium, but I finally accepted that I was psychic. But what I do is I offer telephone or webcam sessions. So I connect with people either for psychic readings or for mediumship, but mostly my thing is mediumship. I absolutely love it. I'm very connected to it. And I also not only offer these, I offer group sessions as well. So I'll meet people in their home. What I really love to do are the events that I do. So I love to
Right.
do large audience-based readings for 50 to 1,200 people. And it's just a passion for me. I love seeing people. I love the excitement. I love the energy in a room. I started my career a little later in life. I knew I was always like this, but it's something that I'm really happy that I've decided to just come out of my closet and finally just be who I was. And it's hard to do, but here I am.
Yeah, I feel like you're really on your purpose. It's really like your soul's journey and you're living it. I almost feel like a butterfly. When I see butterfly, if like we're in life with the caterpillar learning and then we're in the cocoon of healing, whatever, I feel like, you're the butterfly doing what you're meant to do and all these readings and, spreading love and light. I love that. So what brought you to it? Like, what was that switch? You said it brought you later in life. So what was it that was like, hey, I must,
The
do my
switch
mediumship? Yeah.
I love that question, but the big switch for me, Tristan, was my mother's death.
No.
I had a practicing psychic mother between 1961 and 83.
Mm.
And she always told me I was going to do this, professionally, and that I was going to be, really well known. And I laughed at her. I thought it was crazy. I said, I'm never going to do this. And the reason being is because I had a really great job with the government. I was working
Mm.
for the Ministry of the Attorney General at the time. I had benefits. I was doing great. I loved my career. And then my mother got sick, and I'd switched ministries at one point because the one office I was working with closed, and I really didn't like the job that I'd gone to. I loved the people that I worked with,
Yeah.
but I didn't like the type of work. I found it very monotonous, and it was really something that I think I needed to do because I think it's what prompted me to start really thinking about why I was here, what I was here to do. And, my mother passed away not long after that. And it's really what I guess made me decide to finally embrace who I was. And she was right. I was meant to do this. And I ended up quitting my job, which was silly because I didn't have very much longer to retire. I was
Mm.
permanent with the government, but it was on a whim. I just couldn't do it anymore. I just didn't want to face, having to go there every day, sit there and just feel so empty.
Yeah.
And although the people around me were loving and beautiful and supportive, it just really wasn't what I wanted to do. So I took a big chance and I quit my job. I walked up to my boss and I said, I'm gone. Here's my 2 weeks notice. I'm taking 2 weeks vacation. See you later. Please don't tell anyone. And so January 1st was my very first, it was my very first day that I started, my mediumship. And so
Wow.
I haven't looked back from that at all. Actually, it was like a grass fire for me. I had started part-time here and there, reading through the Tree of Life. And
Mm.
they were really, really supportive when I first started. But the thing is, with me, it just went like grass fire.
Yeah.
Career took off very, very quickly. So it was a huge growth in a very short time.
Stunning. And one thing I liked is that I feel like I was very similar too. I feel like a light worker is someone who decided to come on earth to spread light. And I feel like that's the sole purpose that I chose to come here. And I feel like you as well. And I
Yes,
feel like when we're not following that light worker path, it's kind of like it's just not fulfilling. So we kind of we have no choice but
it's
to help
true.
people. Yeah.
It's true. It's not a job, Tristan, it's a calling.
Oh,
And
that
and
felt so good. Yes.
it is, it's a calling and you have to do it. It doesn't matter
Mhm.
what people think of you. It doesn't matter what they say. What matters is that you're enlightening people and that you're helping people. And it
Yeah.
feels so good inside to really help people. And, people need that.
Well, of course, that's why happy you exist. And it's fun how everyone has their own purpose too. Like it's not everyone's purpose to be a psychic medium and to be a healer and etc. Some people are meant to work in the office, and some people, their purpose is to simply be a mother or a student. We all have our own purpose. So it's really all about soul searching and finding it.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm happy that I found my path, and I'm happy that she found your path, and that's great. I know how amazing you are. I've been to your shows or your J Lives. I got readings from you, so I know and honor you. But have you ever came across difficulties with this as well, being a psychic medium?
Yeah, there's people that can accept this and there's people that aren't able to accept this type of work. And it's funny because, I have been so lucky in my hometown of Sudbury. I've
Mhm.
been so well received. The people here are loving, they're supportive. I mean, it's just been a great experience for me. But you get the odd person that's a non-believer, which is fine with me. I'm really, what people think of me is really none of my business. So I'm so over that. But some people really take this to heart. And so there has been some difficulties. I remember one time I had somebody who insisted that I do a reading for them on a Monday. And I told them that I was booked solid for like 8 months. I couldn't read for them, but I told them that if I had, a cancellation, that I would definitely be more than happy to accommodate them. And then they threatened me. So the thing is, sometimes you get little silly things like that. I remember one time at the optometrist office, I had a man start yelling at me saying that,
Mm.
I took advantage of people and different things like that. It's all up to people's beliefs. You have to respect that because I mean, at the end of the day, I want to be respected with my beliefs. And I'm truly a bigger skeptic than probably most of those people. I've
Yeah.
had a lot of readings in my life. I've had a lot of people want to read for me. I know the difference between a light worker and a shyster.
Mm.
But the thing is, most people that do this do it for good intention. I've
Yeah.
really never run into some big problems. And so, but there are, you get the odd difficulties, or you get somebody of a religious belief
Right.
that doesn't believe in what you do. And then of course you'll get hate mail or
Yeah.
threats. But like I said, it's not often, but there's not much you can do other than report it, but you just have to not take it personal
Yeah.
and just know that one person's feeling doesn't mean that everybody's going to feel the same way. So eh,
Hmm.
you know but I love what I do. I think I get so excited every time I do a J Live or when I go out there and to see people and to connect with people, that really I think I'm just really well accepted. So you'll get the odd person though.
I feel that. And I feel like that's with everyone. Like even like the most loved people on the planet are always gonna have some haters. So that's part of it. It's weird. When you were speaking, I was thinking of Joan of Arc. Do you know Joan of Arc?
Yes, I
Yeah.
remember her. Yes.
I love her. I feel like I
Yes.
feel her sometimes. And, she was kind of like, I don't know why I'm laughing, but she was burned at the stake, for delivering like loving messages, and I feel like people, so it's like no matter what, people are gonna hate you, even if you do the most lovely things of life. That's just how it
Yes.
works. Like a medium is someone who speaks to souls who have departed, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So talk about the afterlife, from the soul going onto the other side, if their loves are still around. Some people think that it's in like the same, dimension, or it's a different dimension or anything like that. So talk a bit about the afterlife and when souls depart.
I love this subject. It's one of my favorites. So before we come into being, I believe that we come from there. And so the
Yeah.
thing is, I believe that we're very highly evolved energies that choose different dimensions to come to. And this one happens to be the big planet of tribulation, where souls come to learn lessons emotionally, physically, and mentally speaking.
Yeah.
So here we're born. Boom. We're born. We don't remember being born, although we're conscious beings. We don't remember it. But just like being born, we'll never remember dying. Dying is a very quick body to soul transformation. And the thing is, once the soul starts to transform, it goes from the third dimension, which is this physical world. It doesn't need the body anymore. So the body is left behind to either be, cremated or buried, and the thing is that soul, though, has this very instant body soul transformation. I believe that there's two other dimensions. The fourth, which is dream world, that we're connected to,
Yeah.
and the fifth, which is the afterlife.
Mm.
So the fourth dimension, not many souls get stuck there or in limbo, but I do believe that some souls kind of stay there. And it's
Yeah.
not because they're being punished. And in that dimension, which is dream world, a lot of them feel that they're in a dream. They
Mhm.
think that they're imagining this. They don't have the realization that they're gone. And so there's still a bit of ego in that fourth dimension, but there's no fear. The thing is, a soul that will die very quickly. So if I'm walking and a piano falls on my head, boom, I might think that I'm dreaming this.
Right.
Or, if I died of an overdose and I didn't expect to die that way,
Yeah.
then I'm going to think that, like, what the heck? Am I dreaming this?
Right.
So a lot of them stay there. I call those grounded spirits. So
Okay.
some spirits will stay grounded, some for many, many years.
Yeah.
To us, it may seem like a lifetime, 100 years, 200 years. But the thing is, for them, it's not very long. The time is very, very different.
Right.
The thing is, once a soul, though, crosses, so some cross from the third to the fourth, right into the fifth immediately.
Yeah.
So it's an instant transformation. It's like waking up in a whole different place.
Yeah.
Once you reach that fifth dimension, or that veil, once that veil opens up and you step into it, you have died, it's your day, it's happening. And then you start to see all of these energies, and they'll show you usually what they look like, so that you can recognize. So some of them will come in as you recognize them. They could have been 10 years old. Some of them may come in, when they were 50, that's how you knew them, but you hadn't seen them for years. So these all start to cross through, and then there's a huge celebration. But the fifth dimension is much different than here. There's no male, there's no female on that dimensional plane. And the thing is, these souls could choose to come back up to 9 times here, 9 cycles is what I taught from my mother. So that's kind of what I think. We operate in the third and fourth dimension a lot as human beings, because we think all the time. We daydream all day long, and we create that way. We create all of our thoughts and our realities through our thoughts. But we can also connect with spirit there as well, because spirit can come from the fifth down to the fourth dimension. We're always thinking in that fourth. So if you can dream of spirits at night, you could daydream of them as well. There's really no difference between the two, with the exception that you don't have a conscious awareness that you're doing it while you're asleep.
I love every single word that came out of your mouth. Everything you were saying, I'm like, yes. Oh my God, it was so well said. Everything you're saying. I also feel like the fourth dimension, where like sometimes when someone dies, they don't know they died. And to me, I call those spirits ghosts. That's what I like to say, is ghosts. Whereas when you go, oh, you agree? Okay.
They are ghosts. Ghosts are grounded spirits have crossed.
Exactly. And
Thank you.
Yeah,
you know the difference. I love this. Not a lot of people know that, even in mediumship. Believe it or not. Yeah.
And that's why I feel like fourth dimension spirits can sometimes feel a bit scary or a bit like, ooh, because it's like they're grounded, like there's like more presence, so they can kind of knock on things and
Yes.
turn lights off and on. So that's why people are get scary. But my follow-up question was that I know of a lot of my clients too that say like they always ask if their loved ones are okay, right? Because sometimes there's so much hardships on earth, and sometimes, let's say piano falls on you, well, that would hurt quite a lot, right? But once the soul comes onto the other side, I always say that, there is no more pain. They're in the fifth dimension with, there's just light and love all around. But do you have words on that as well about like pain on the other side?
There is none. So once the soul transforms body to soul, they leave that behind. It's not like, that like you'll never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. Like you can't take that with you either. Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that stays behind with the human. Being human belongs to the third dimension, which is this planet.
Right,
And so we
3D.
come here with all of these egos, these feelings, hearing, seeing, sensing, smelling, all of these senses.
Yeah,
But when we cross through, that body doesn't work anymore. So the thing is, there's no more pain, there's no judgment, there's no hatred. You could
right.
have had the biggest argument with somebody. Actually, that happened to me. I had a client that come to see me that had a huge argument with her husband just before, and it was over mowing the lawn of all things.
Yeah.
And the thing is, she basically left in a huff, didn't answer her phone all morning, ignored him,
Mhm.
and ignored all the calls that came in. And in the afternoon, when she checked her phone, the hospital had been frantically trying to call her. He had
Mhm.
had a heart attack, and by she had just gotten to the hospital, and he died. She didn't get a chance to say goodbye to him, so she felt guilty. But the thing is, there's no guilt to carry. The soul would have never been upset with her, even though they had this argument.
Yeah.
Soul crosses through. It's just so euphoric and so happy. But really, the biggest thing that happens once they cross that veil is they start to realize the effect that they had, their soul, how it affected others, how it affected their lives, the good or the bad that they did, how that one decision might have changed a whole lifetime for someone.
Mm.
So the thing is, they go through that kind of thing, but it's not a bad thing. I believe that souls can come and replay some memories like a loop. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
I do
Hmm.
believe that
Yeah.
if they want to replay a beautiful memery. If they
Yeah.
need to learn lessons, they can even go through the bad memories, but
Yeah.
usually they don't dwell on that.
Mm.
A lot of people become disconnected. So I know a lot of people will come to see me and say, Jay, I didn't talk to my father for 2 years. I feel so guilty. I didn't go see him before he died. And I'll tell them, look, your father's always around you. He loves you so much. He doesn't care about that. What's important is right now, you've already said your sorries. It's good to say that. And I encourage people to talk to their spirits, because it's so important. Because the thing is, they hear us, they hear our thoughts. You don't even have to talk out loud. So the thing is, there's no pain there. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
And come from there. And the thing is, I believe that we don't remember the afterlife because we don't want to be dead.
Yeah, that's right.
Plain and simple. We
Right.
don't want to
Yeah.
be dead.
We want to be here right now. And I feel like one thing that you say is that like we should talk to our loved ones or spirits because they're always around. And one thing I always say is that we're all psychic. We're all mediums. We can all tap into this ability. I feel like
Absolutely.
perhaps it's easier for some people. We can look at your astrology chart, for example, or just like some people are naturally good at speaking, some people are naturally athletic, and just some people are naturally psychic, but anyone can be psychic and anyone
Yes.
can be a medium. It just takes a
Yes.
lot of faith and comes from the heart, all love and light, which is
Yes.
what I like to teach people. Okay, so I wanted to ask you some more deeper questions about the afterlife.
Yes.
Some things can be like we talk about death, right? So, it's not just rainbows and butterflies, there's a lot of hardships with death, with
Yes.
grief and loss, and even things like suicide and murder. Death can be so dark. And I feel like it's important to kind of stay within love and light to see the reasoning behind all these things. Like
Yes.
you said, that even like you said something about loops, that will, like, spirits will kind of give us some loving loops to remember the beauty of life, or
Yes.
some more challenging loops so that we can learn our lessons, which is why
Yes.
we're here on earth, is to learn these lessons. So
Yes.
even these dark negative aspects of life are for a reason, so that we can push our souls forward and learn and grow.
Yes.
So my first question, which is a little bit, it's a vulnerable question, but when people take their own lives or death by suicide, we talk about it. I have some things I like to say, but I want to hear you speak about it.
Death by suicide is so difficult for so many people because the grief comes mainly from feeling sorry for that person and the suffering that they went through before their death, and the fact that they would hurt themselves to that point, not want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I I have different opinions about it. I
Okay.
believe that there's a couple different things. We have assisted suicide. Assisted suicide is when we know we're going to die and we decide that we're going to take the easy way out or the
Yeah.
quicker way out. And, there's quite a process. It has to be medically, approved, this, that. But suicide is when we intentionally decide to end our contracts. I
Hmm.
always tell people the soul's journey is a little bit different when they die. And I believe they stay stuck a little bit in that fourth dimension.
Yes.
So let me give you an example. If
Sure.
I was supposed to be married to somebody and I was supposed to have 3 children
Okay.
with that person, and I was supposed to learn about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, patience, tough love, and all of that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That was supposed to be my life lesson coming here. And these 3 souls were going to help me with this. And
Mhm.
from this, I was going to be able to help other people through this experience. So now I come home and the man that I just married committed suicide. So there goes my life plan. I don't have the
Yeah.
3 children that I was supposed to have. I didn't learn about the sex, drugs, rock and roll, tough love, and all of these things.
Hmm.
So I'm going to live my life in limbo here. You know what I mean? And I'm going to feel like every time I think about love, I'm going to think about suicide. So it's very difficult for a person to kind of pick up the pieces at this end because they're not fulfilling their destiny like they were supposed to. That
Right.
life agreement was broken. So we
Hmm.
made a plan, but you broke it here. Now it's okay to break these things. And I'm not saying that because some people will say, well, death by suicide shouldn't be punishable on the other side, or it's not part of this, it's part of the soul's plan. I don't think that. I think that it's a broken agreement.
Hmm.
And the reason I think that is because the soul that's left behind has to quickly change their life plan without really putting a lot of thought to it. This is all of a sudden someone's done this and my life has changed, So, and the person I loved or trusted the most. So
Hmm.
the person that commits, no, I shouldn't say commits, dies by suicide, because
Yes, very well said. Yes,
is old. So, and I'm terrible. Sometimes I get stuck in that,
but
but
that's fine. Yeah.
who dies by suicide,
Hmm.
um, I believe doesn't cross completely through. And it's not because they're being punished.
Right.
I believe that a lot of them replay their lives. They replay a lot of the things that they regret. And souls that that die by suicide sometimes don't want to cross through. They
Yeah.
don't believe that they deserve
Right.
light, or some of them don't believe in that. And I
Yeah.
think that your death mimics a lot of what you believe in until you're able to awaken from that.
Hmm.
So with that being said, once the soul does accept, or once the soul's had enough, other loving souls can come through and cross them through,
Yeah.
or someone like us can cross them through. A
Right.
lot of times I'll go somewhere, I'm going, oh my goodness, someone died in this room, or died by suicide, took their life.
Hmm.
I'm going to do a nice little ritual and I'm going
Yeah.
to ask them to walk in and to accept that light.
Yeah.
But the thing is, not all souls want to. I've had
Right.
difficult souls that didn't want to cross through, didn't feel they deserved it. And it's unfortunate, but you have to keep on trying.
Hmm.
So I think with more and more doing that, the soul will eventually cross, or once they see someone and they trust that they're going to go to a good place, they're not as afraid. And it's funny, it's not like they have a huge ego, but it's like that dream world, right? It's not
Yeah.
a bad dream, but it's still that awareness, I would
I
think.
Exactly. I've had clients too with people who like have loved ones who took their own life. That I feel like suicide, I believe, is not always part of our plan. I don't think we kind of decide that coming into here. I
That's
feel like we
right.
decide to do lots of other things, like I'll divorce you, maybe I'll rob a bank, or I don't know. But like I feel like suicide is kind of like, ugh. And the way I see it is that like there is work to do here on earth. So someone who has those thoughts is that there's help and you can heal yourself and work on yourself. So
Yes.
when some people take their own life, the work's not done. It's not just straight up to the fifth dimension. You know, you kind of have to do your therapy on the other side. You have to do your energy healing on the other side,
Yes.
because there's still
Yes.
ego attached. So I
Yeah.
always feel like it's that's why I have someone close to me who took their own life and I could feel that they're like,
Yes.
I still have work to do. It's not just everything's good, shoot up
Yeah.
to the stars.
Some of them
Um,
can be very accidental, like an overdose for me is a little bit different. A lot of
yeah,
people
yeah,
classify these as suicides, but
it's a
they're
bit
not.
different for sure. Yeah.
They're accidental deaths is what they are. And they always go through, and I know right away the difference when I channel between someone who's died by suicide or
Mm.
somebody who has overdosed. I know right away.
Me too. I feel like I can kind of tell. I
Yeah.
can kind of tell when someone takes their own life, there's much more responsibility. They always take ownership. I feel like
Yeah.
they're always like, okay, they take ownership of their passing. Does that make sense to you? Whereas someone who does an overdose or it's an accident, it comes more from carelessness or an accident. So they kind of come in like, whoops,
Yeah.
comes in more of an oopsies. Okay, let's say someone is suicidal, okay, but they don't kill themselves. And I
Yes.
know these words I'm saying are so abrasive, they're so
No,
aggressive,
but
but
it's the reality of life, you know?
yes, they might be killing themselves slowly, right? They could be doing drugs. They could be, it's like a carelessness. I don't care if I die, so yeah, I'll do all these drugs. Or
Yeah.
I don't care if I'll die, so I'll eat steak for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So there's a sense of it's not loving yourself. It comes from I kind of want to die.
Yeah.
So sometimes I feel like suicide isn't necessarily jumping off a bridge or, hanging yourself. It could be very slow increments that
Yes.
kind of leads to
Yes.
it. That's
Yes.
why when I feel like people say committed suicide, it's like it's not something that you commit to because someone could die from a heart attack, but it's also
Yes.
slow increments that led to it, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So that's why I feel like even some souls will come through and it's like they didn't kill themselves necessarily, but they still take so much ownership,
They
you know,
do. They
for
still
their
take the ownership. I drank myself to oblivion, or
yes,
I did
yeah.
a lot of drugs and I didn't care who knew it, you know. I understand what you're saying, but you're so right. And some people do take that slow way out, and it's unfortunate.
I know.
But,
Gosh,
but
love.
yeah, I know. I just want to hug everybody.
I know, me too. That
Oh
I
my
wish I could.
God.
Well, we can energetically, right? Just
Yes, we can.
yeah, send love to everyone around, all beings in all places of the world. Okay, so I love my sister so, 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 so much. And she had 3 miscarriages, and I've never seen my sister hurt so much in my life than when she had miscarriages.
Yes.
And I was able to assist her with that, like being an energy healer, a medium. I helped her so much. And I have lots of thoughts on that. But what do you have to say for people, who have dealt with abortions or miscarriages of just kind of like, you know, souls being in the womb and then leaving, or
Yes.
or
I
even
mean,
just very, very young children dying too? What are your thoughts on
yes. Oh my goodness. It's the hardest when people lose children, it's heart-wrenching for me to
that? Yeah.
read for parents.
Woo, yeah,
Because you could feel the really deep hurt because you're losing part of yourself essentially.
quite literally, yeah.
Yeah,
Quite
you
literally,
are.
yeah.
I've been through 3 miscarriages, so I can understand.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Okay.
okay. That's okay. I went through the pregnancies that were a little bit more advanced. The first miscarriage I had was at 7 weeks. The second was 5.5 months. And the
Yeah.
third one was 8.5 months. It was a long one.
Okay, that would do it. Yep.
Yeah, it was difficult. And the thing is, I had been bedridden the whole entire time for my last pregnancy, and the baby didn't make it. I started hemorrhaging, didn't make it to the hospital in time. So the thing is, I blamed myself for a very long time.
No.
I didn't know what was going to happen to that baby, but I remember when I finally was done with all of that, I only have the one boy, and I'm so thankful for that. I told him one day, I said, mommy lost 3 boys, so God promised them back to me, so you're going to have my 3 boys. And he laughed, and I said, you are going to have 3 boys. And he has 3 boys.
Yeah.
So I believe that they can come back to you.
Yeah.
So this is the way I get it. Once the heart starts to beat, there is a life, there is a soul. The soul comes from the other side. It decides to come here. And so now it's growing inside of you. But everybody, including souls that are inside gestating, we have 5 exits in life, 5 perfect ways of dying that we choose before coming into this earthly plane. Now, it could be that that soul has decided somehow to leave early for whatever reason. It could be that it's decided not to come into this family, or it may come into another family later, but this is not the timing for it. It's not going to learn the lessons it needs to learn. Or maybe it's going to help me because I'm having difficulties, and maybe I could die as a result of carrying that child full term. So it's decided to leave to give me a chance because I have other important things to do. So the thing is, it's very much the soul's decision. So if I am laying on a table ready to have a termination of pregnancy, it's because the soul has decided to leave my body and has influenced me in the situation around me. And that's what I believe, because I don't believe that it's a sin to do that. And only because it's the soul's choice to do it. Now, a lot of people say, well, you know, what if people use that as a way of contraceptive? Some people do. I don't know what to say about that, but I know that if there's a 12-year-old that has been raped by an uncle and decides, let's say, to have a termination of pregnancy, it's because that child has decided not to come into this world.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, I mean, I couldn't blame someone like that for wanting to not go through something so traumatic, especially when it's a child, because I worked with that in courts. I worked in sexual assaults, so I've seen a lot of it. So I don't really feel that that it's someone murdering their child, killing it, or and you know, I feel bad because I'm going to tell you, I do a lot of talking on abortion. I have a lot of big views on terminations of pregnancies. And the thing is, so many people feel guilty because they feel like they have, and I've met women that their lives have been threatened, like, you know, it's intolerable, and they could die if they don't do this. And when they do it, they still feel like they've taken someone's life, and they feel that they shouldn't have lived. And I just feel for those people because there's no reason to feel guilty. And of course, it's human nature too, but that's my belief on terminations or abortions or whatever you want to call them. And miscarriages are the same. If this child decides it doesn't want to come here, you know, may leave. I have a lot of people also, they'll come to me and they'll cry about, you know, wanting to terminate. What should I do? What's the soul's plan? So when I explain everything, and then I'll tell them something like this. So what if you lose this child tomorrow? What do you mean? What if you lost that child tomorrow? Here you're crying and you're feeling terrible, and you know, but this child could have decided to leave your body tomorrow. Would it make a difference? And they're going, think about that, because I mean, you don't know if you're going to deliver that child or not. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, everything is still up in the air. You don't know. I've had some people come to me and say I'm pregnant, and then they find out that it was like a fake pregnancy or whatever you call it. You know, so I mean, so many things can happen, but we're human. So of course, right away we're going to go towards guilt and shame and all of these terrible emotions. You know, so.
I love what you said. My heart, I felt like my heart opened. I feel like when you spoke about this, it came from so much love, which to me feels the appropriate energy. And what I like is that a lot of people think, like, let's say someone decides to get an abortion, that it's their decision to kind of terminate this child. But truly, I love what you said, that it's the child. Like, the mother wouldn't do it if the child, you know, wanted to be born, if I could say. Abortions are a big part of life, and they're there for a reason. And I do feel like sometimes the soul learns its lessons in the womb, and that beautifully well said.
Mm.
And when I think of my sister who has 2 children and 3, what are they called? Rainbow babies? Or is that animals? 3 angel babies, let's say.
Yes.
Angel babies. I felt like that one of her miscarriages was a soul, and then it came back and it was born. I really, really, really felt that. It's
Yes, they can come back. So
yeah,
they can decide to come back. So maybe, they're going to be sick because mom had some medication or did something. They don't want to come into this life. So
yeah,
now mom decides to have a termination, or mom loses the
yeah,
baby. And now they get pregnant again. And now it's like, oh, my life is in a better place. I'm ready. I'm excited. But that could come back.
yeah,
Like myself, I lost 3 boys, and I
yeah.
believe that my boys were going to come back. And I have 3 grandsons, and I believe that they're my boys.
Well, they are. Well,
Yeah,
that sounds about right to me. It's something
they
with
are.
numbers.
They're recycled souls.
I mean, Psychic Tristan, I remember seeing my sister with a little girl who is a Libra. But
Oh,
when she was pregnant, the delivery would have been around Gemini season. And I
okay.
was like, ugh, in my mind, she's blonde, she's a Libra, so I don't get it. But in my head, I was like, okay, well, maybe she'll be a Gemini, but she'll have like a Libra-esque vibe.
Yes.
And then I also got the images of my sister having cramps and everything. And anyways, I kind of like predicted her miscarriage. And basically, long story short, when she got pregnant again, the baby was born and is now a Libra. So it's a little blonde girl Libra.
Oh
So
my
it
goodness.
was very specific. Yeah. But it goes to show that there's a plan. And that's why I had to tell her. I was like, there's a plan. Like this
It
is
is.
meant to happen this way. You're meant to be pregnant,
Yeah.
meant to unfortunately miscarry. And then
Yes.
it's like so perfect. And
Yes.
even like some souls who aren't born again are still around and very, very loving and protective and can still
They are.
communicate. And that's just so cool. So it's almost like a bonus. You know what I mean?
It
Like it's
is.
like a
I believe that they can become our guides.
yes.
So, and I love that. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's great.
Yeah. Okay, I have one more question for you, and it's about souls who come into this life with physical or mental difficulties and
Mhm.
why they chose. So I'll tell you what I felt before. So I'm a school teacher and I was teaching at this school, and then there was a girl with Down syndrome.
Yes.
And she was nonverbal, and I don't know, and she was super flexible. Anyways, but being super sensitive to energy, I could feel her vibes, and I was just mind blown. I was like, this little girl is like a master soul, or like I couldn't describe it. I was like, I couldn't describe it. I still can't describe it, but I just felt like there's so much beautiful energy into this little body of this Down syndrome girl. So it made me think that she chose to be this way to learn specific lessons. But what are your thoughts on that? So if someone is born without legs, or someone's born with, you know what I mean? Just
Someone that's very severely mentally or physically incapacitated, I believe, is the soul that comes back in its last cycle. So we call
oh,
it
for sure. Yeah.
the ninth
Okay.
cycle. So it's the 9th life.
Yeah.
And I like the 9th life. It's interesting. You'll see, children that are so, incapable of doing anything or taking care of themselves. And so they have to have workers, they have to have support workers, they have to have therapy, physio, doctors. They're
Yeah.
poked and prodded, these poor little kids. And then they have to go to school, and then they're bullied, or they
Mm.
can be abused. Some of them can't even go to school because they're not capable of learning anything. Some of these children, and I'm not saying that all of these children, because I don't want people thinking that I have this opinion, but a lot of these children can be abused, in the system. I hate to say it, but I've lived around that. I've worked in courts, and so we used to see a lot of abuse with healthcare workers abusing, or babysitters abusing.
Yeah. Yes.
And because they would lose their patience, or
Yeah.
they were just made for that kind of thing. And it's not to say, and I'm not, I guess classifying anyone, like I say, but just for the sole purpose of talking about this soul plan, that 9th cycle is the final one here, and it's usually the most elevated soul that you can be. So in other words, you're coming here selflessly, you're coming here to teach others rather than learn, is what I always felt. And the thing is, when you're teaching others, it's like being the poster child, for a cause. So, for instance, the lady in India that was recently killed by the police because she wore her headdress,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
a hijab, or whatever you call it. I'm
yeah.
not good with those words, but
Good
at the
job.
end.
Yeah.
Yeah, hijab, I think it's called.
Mm.
But she was killed, and look at the protest in these countries. So
Yeah.
she become the martyr
Yeah.
for that. So for me, her soul was very highly elevated. She chose to die for a cause,
Mm.
and it was a big one. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Lots of change, lots of anger, hopefully things will happen as a result of that. But that's what I'm talking about. So they don't always have to be just incapacitated. It could be someone like Joan of Arc. You know,
Yeah, I was, yes. I
yes,
was just thinking Joan of Arc again. Read my
yes,
mind.
that had this like huge purpose to make a difference, because I mean people honored her after that. They couldn't believe the
Yeah,
courage this woman had,
yeah.
and the guts, I guess, she had to go through what she did.
Mhm.
So the thing is, there's a lot of beautiful people like that. Some people here call it the Christ child, or your 33s, your martyrs in numerology. But
I'm a 33.
you're a 33.
Yeah.
Yeah, 33s have different, like, difficult life paths. They're here to have an effect on like a large amount of people
Yeah.
through the things that they go through. And so I always found that I love that, like, I guess that ninth life. So my mother, I believe, has come back into this lifetime.
You talk, yeah,
Yes.
and I feel that too. I remember
Yeah.
we talked about. So, why do you think that?
Well, because my mother died at 2:27 p.m. on
Yeah.
November 9th. And I had a beautiful reading with a lady named Eileen from Wales, who's a good friend of mine.
Mm.
She's a phenomenal medium, and she's so accurate. She'll give you addresses. Like, she gave me an address in the US, and I ended up signing a contract with that person 2 years later. And I didn't
Oh my
even know
God,
the person
that's
at
cool.
that time, but it was exactly Heights Drive, 90210, Beverly Hills. And
Mm.
it was crazy. But she told me my mother was going to come back into this lifetime as an incapacitated little girl, and that she was going to be born in the month of fire, which is for me April, August, or December,
Mhm.
10 to 11 years after she died. And I said, how am I going to know it's this child? She goes, well, first of all, this child's going to carry your mother's name, either to the first name or the middle name. The other thing she told me was that this child was going to be very severely either incapacitated, mentally incapacitated, or also have a physical ailment, most likely in the chest area, so
Mhm.
heart or lung problems. And the other thing she told me was that this child was going to be born at 2:27 p.m., the same time, she says, as my mother died. And I laughed
Wow.
at that a little bit. I said, oh, Eileen, come on. Like, is that? And she goes, well, what time did your mother die? I said 2:27 p.m. So that's what happened. My niece called me in 2021 in December. I found out that a nephew of mine's wife was carrying a child, and she had had a baby. The family didn't know about it because he doesn't really communicate with the family.
Mm.
And we knew that they had 3 other children, but that little girl has my mother's name, and she was born at 2:27 p.m. It was 11 years later.
It's very specific. 5 stars to that psychic.
Yeah.
Five,
And
five.
I've told her since. I mean, my niece and I, my niece was with me when my mother died. And so she knows the whole
Mm.
story. And she knew what, because I was desperate to feel my mother. After my mother died, Tristen, I couldn't feel her. And so it was
Yeah.
difficult for me. So I went to see her, and I saw another medium, in fact, and they were both able to connect. But I was able to connect with my mother shortly after that, a couple of times, but my father every day. And it's funny because
Mm.
he didn't believe in any of this. Not that he didn't want to. I think it was bigger than him, and he was happy with the money my mother was making, but otherwise he didn't want to hear about it. And when it came to me with my mediumship, he basically, I guess he was afraid that the kids would be judgmental or hurtful.
Right.
So he didn't like what I did. And I think it was his way of discouraging me. So I didn't do it for a long time until I was much older, but there's the whole answer. But that, I believe my mother's back.
I mean, you kind of have no choice but to believe in it at that point. It's just so specific.
Like,
Um,
Crazy.
I feel like the afterlife is so like time and space works very, very differently. So,
Yes.
and like I've connected to my past lives too, where I can see them and feel them. And I was like, I was a man here and I was a woman here, and it's very messes with my mind a bit. But I do know, but I also feel like my grandma's around. So I know like my grandma's not, reborn again.
Yes.
However, I have a cousin named Vicky. I can still feel her, but at the same time, I wonder if she's born again. And I feel like how time and space works differently. So
Yes.
for instance, this is what I think, that your mom can kind of still be with you in the energy for the rest of your life, but
Yes.
kind of go back in the past and be reborn again as the baby. Do you know what I mean? So
Yes. Yeah.
the essence is always there, which is super
Yeah,
cool.
some people do believe that. This little girl, though, she's very she was very sick. She had Down syndrome and a heart condition. So she was very right about it, you
Very
know.
spot on.
So when I see these children that are very incapacitated or so mentally, incapacitated or physically, I'm so honored to be in their presence because they're very highly evolved souls. They're
Yeah.
here in the last cycle. They're here to make a change in this world.
Well, that's beautiful. And with numbers, I feel like numbers are super sacred as well. So
Yes.
like each number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Do
Yeah.
you know, do you think people can know what is their life path number right now? Like, is that simple numerology? Like, do you know
Oh,
what?
I don't do numerology. I use numerology just to add my numbers up.
Right.
But when I was 9 years old, my mother started teaching me soul plans and through numbers. And so she didn't believe in zodiacs at all. She said
Mm,
there is no January, so to this date with Capricorn. It's either earth, air, fire, that kind of thing, all the elements. And so, for instance, April, August, December, and March are fire, but March is fire and water. It falls because fire and water are number threes. So December and March are both number threes. December 1 + 2 is 3. You know what I
mm.
mean? And so there's patterns in numbers. So you'll see, like, I could take someone's birthday and I could figure out from there all of the dates of death from that, or
So
I could,
cool.
yeah, or I could figure out when people are going to die, but I don't do it. But I don't.
Right.
Yeah. So a lot of people ask me, when's my husband gonna die? He's gonna die soon. I won't, because I'm not
Right.
God. So it's not
Yes.
up for me to say anything. But the thing is, I think that numbers really connect us. I mean, look, 369, it's the numerical code for human life and for everything that we do,
Mhm.
369. So the thing is, I do believe in numbers. I believe in numbers as signs. I
Yeah.
believe in numbers as messages, and I also believe in numbers as life paths. And
Yeah.
I don't know any other medium that does the life numbers like my mom taught me.
Mm.
It's very no None of the mediums that I've met have ever learned that system, but it's something that my mother learned when she was younger through another light worker who was Chinese.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah, and it was
Well,
something that she said that spirits had taught her.
yeah. And I feel like not every medium's different, right? Like I
Yeah.
don't like I like numbers, but I connect to spirit a lot through things that I see. But with you, what I think is super cool, it's with numbers. I meant to ask you this at the beginning, but you use a lot of numbers. So you'll see a number. Okay, what is one? Okay, can you mean January because it's the first month or the first day, or I'm not
Yeah.
too sure what you do, but it's super, super cool because it helps you really figure out exact,
Who's
and
there?
numbers don't lie. Do you know what I mean?
They
Like
don't.
it's very
No.
specific.
Or
So-
even the time of death. It's like sometimes I'll
oh my
go,
God, yes.
yeah, I
And
see.
time of birth.
Yeah, and time of birth I get, but
Yeah.
mostly time of death. So
Mm.
sometimes someone will come and see me and they'll say, "Do you see anyone that was born in April or that died in April? Or do you see like my dad?" Or I'll just say, "Well, I see someone that died at 1:06 a.m. That was my dad." So it's right
Mm.
away they know, but I'll see the time. But sometimes they'll flip the time upside down on me. But I mean, I don't know. I started learning the numbers when I was 9. And by the time
Right.
14, I pretty well mastered it. It took me about 4 or 5 years to really kind of absorb it over and over and over again.
Mm. Do you know your life path number, like numerology?
22. I'm a 22. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm a master 22. Yeah.
yeah, that's so cool because I'm a 33, which is also like That
Yes.
makes sense because I feel like 11, 22, 33 tend to be more spiritual. So it kind of
Mm.
makes sense that you're 22, I'm a 33, which goes back to 4, 2 plus 2, 4, which is all about like home security, safety, I think,
Yeah. Fours are, yeah, they are. They're homes,
or
they're
family.
security. Yeah, family, unity, that kind of thing. And number of angels, fours, right? Repetitive fours. So usually like angels are with you or higher ascended masters, that kind of thing. So when people see 444 on the clock or on the license plate or something, it's interesting. I always say 444 is me, and people go, why? Well, I said, add it up. They go, well, 4 plus 4 plus 4 is 12. I'm born in December. I said, what's 1 plus 2? They said 3. That's me. 12, 3.
That's so, see, numbers blows
Yeah.
my mind, blows my mind. I recently got into it and it's just really blowing my mind how
Yeah.
numbers are everywhere and it's just so freaking sacred and it's math.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not emotions. It's like it has a yang energy, I find, because it's so specific and
Yeah.
time. And anyways, I'm really, really, really loving it. And then I found out I was a 33, which also blew my mind, or a
Yes.
6, because it goes down to 6. And it's
Yes.
just so
This is
crazy.
all compassion. It's
Yeah.
all about compassion, heart, serving at the heart. So
Yeah.
doctors, nurses, that kind
Yeah.
of thing, social workers.
Helpers,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I
You'll
feel as
see a
well.
lot of that. Yeah. You'll see a lot of January police officers, Capricorns or January.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Capricorn. Well, I wanted to say also, it's kind of like how there's a bunch of different religions. We like people can believe in a bunch of things, but at the same time, we're all kind of we're all feeling the same thing. Like we're all
Yes.
praying to the same person. We're giving it a different gender or a different color or a
That's
different
right.
prayer, but
That's
different
all right.
language. But same thing with like astrology and numerology. It's like all the same. It's just different ways of understanding it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
some people
And
it's
interpreting it. Yeah.
yeah, but it's all lovely. It's all different all mediums. It's all different mythologies, but they kind of
Yes.
equal to the same thing, and they're also beautiful for someone to work on their soul and grow and everything.
Yes.
Lovely. Okay, so this was so much fun. Is there anything you wanted to say? Any bits of wisdom that you wanted to share? Anything else that we missed or?
I tell people this just, to be open to spirit and just to quiet your mind and listen sometimes. They're always around us. We have 3 to 5 spirits around us every single day. They're not always the same ones. And if you
Yeah.
go into a mall and you see 100 people there, do the math. There's a lot of spirits in one
Mm-hmm.
area. But the thing is, they're never going to hurt you. They're always happy, and we're going to see each other again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. What a gift.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you if you have anything coming up or how can people book sessions with you if you're accepting clients or anything
Oh
like
my
that.
goodness. I do, I just open my calendar here and there, then I close it off, then I'll open it again, but it is open. So I'm doing
Cool.
one-on-one sessions through webcam or telephone sessions. My webcam sessions are recorded. I'm
Mm-hmm.
also offering in-house group sessions for 10 or more in my local area, which is Sudbury, Ontario. I'm also doing Spirit Tour 2023. I'm excited about it. And so I hadn't really done any touring since I had been out with James Van Prague. So I'm kind of excited to do the bigger tour. So I'm going to be in Sudbury on April 22nd for a VIP event, which is a 3-hour event and
Oh,
a
wow.
smaller event. It's a little bit more intimate.
Mm.
Special gift to all of my beautiful people that are coming out. And that's going to be at the Garden Hilton here in Sudbury and the Kingsway. And on April 22nd in Oshawa on April 28th, in Kingston on the 29th of April. I'm in New Liskeard on May 26th, May 27th in Timmins. On June 9th, I'm in Newmarket, I believe it is. I
Mm.
think it's Newmarket. Please forgive me if I'm wrong. And I'm at the York Curling Club on June 10th. And in July, I believe I'm in Elliott Lake and in those areas. And in August, I forget. And I know in September and October, I'm going to be here. Now, I'm also doing Fill the Shelves. It's going to be a fundraiser on April 1st. And so I'm excited about that out in Spanish. And
Oh,
going to be at the Legion there. And I'm also doing another fundraiser for the Lions Club here in Azilda. And so that's going to be on May 6th. So I'm really excited about those 2 fundraisers. So I'm going to be busy,
you're a
but
busy gal for
yeah.
sure. You're busy, busy, spending your light.
And Oh, I'm so sorry, but I have one more thing. I'm also
Of
going to be
course.
in Niagara Falls and in St. Catharines in September with the Psychic Associates. So I do have another business where I coach and mentor other upcoming psychics and mediums. And we also offer courses, psychic development. We also have master mentors,
Mm,
people such as, I love her, Jackie Dennison, the rescue medium. We have all kinds of wonderful people, but the psychicassociates.com, super excited about that. But if you're looking for a
absolutely.
reading or if you're looking to book an event, even mediumjlane.com.
Absolutely. I hope everyone checks it out. So lovely. Okay, well, thank you so much. I'm so happy you got to share all the wisdom, got to pick your brain, and hopefully a lot of people can learn from it. So I'm giving you a really big hug. I'm so happy that we got
Oh,
to.
thank you. Thank you. Me too, Tristen. It was so nice to connect. And of course, like I feel like we just had coffee or something, but we do have to get together for coffee.
I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to.
And
Like-minded people, I feel like
I'll have to have you on my J Live as well. I'm really excited about that.
I'm
And
there.
so, yeah, I'd love to have you on. So I'm looking forward to that.
Beautiful.
Great.
Okay, well,
Thank
thank you so
you.
much. I'll just say bye to everyone. So bye, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.